is Francine Gani, and I am the chair of the Northwest region of the American Committee for Shaare Zedek Medical Center in Jerusalem. Tonight it is my privilege to chair this function, honoring Jack and Candee Klein, two friends, two most generous philanthropists, two wonderful people, and you will hear much more about them later in the evening. I hope that you enjoyed the delicious food that Wendy Kleckner and her staff prepared for us tonight. We have a wonderful evening, a wonderful program for you tonight. And right now, I would like to invite Cantor Barry Reich, he is the cantor of Peninsula Temple Shalom, the temple where Jack and Candee belong. And he will lead us in the national anthems. Please rise.
Please join with me if you can. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars to the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets sprang flares of bombs bursting in air gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave? Please join with me in the Hatikva. Kol Odaleva Benima Nefesh Yehudi Hamiyah Ulefate Mizra Kadima Ayin Litzion Sophia, oh, Plada, Ikbatenu, Atikva, Bachnot Alpayim, Liotam Choshi, Yerushalayim, Liotam Choshi, Be'yartzeinu, Eretz Zion, Yerushalayim.
And now it is my pleasure to introduce Rabbi Daniel Fieder, who joined Peninsula Temple Shalom in 2006 as the second senior rabbi in this temple's half-century history. He is very much loved for his warmth, intellectual creativity, and his spirituality. Prior to coming to Peninsula Temple Shalom, Rabbi Feder served as a rabbi at Congregation Knesset Israel in Allentown, Pennsylvania, for 7 years. Before that, he was the assistant and then associate rabbi at Temple of Heref Shalom in Baltimore, Maryland. Rabbi Feder was born and raised in San Francisco, and he grew up attending Congregation Emmanuel. He earned a Bachelor's of Arts at UC Berkeley and a Master's of Arts from the Hebrew Union College. Rabbi Feder was ordained in 1994. Rabbi Feder and his wife, Sandra, have 3 daughters. Please join me in welcoming Rabbi Daniel Feder.
Thank you, Francine. Erev Tov, friends. It is an honor and a privilege to be here with all of you tonight for this really special evening to celebrate the accomplishments of Shaare Zedek Hospital, and in particular, to celebrate Jack and Candee Klein, the essence of who they are as friends, as Jews, and as philanthropists. And when a rabbi is asked to share remarks, we really start with Parashat HaShavua, the Torah portion of the week. This week it happens to be Lech Lecha. And before I say another word, would you please join me in the blessing over the study of Torah. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kideshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu la'asok b'divrei Torah. Adonai our God, we thank you and praise you for the blessing of our Torah. You sanctify us with the mitzvot and command us to engage in the study of Torah. So, at the beginning of chapter 12, God speaks to Avram, later to be known, of course, as Avraham, and calls on him with the words Lech Lecha, Me'artzecha, to go forth, or depending on how we translate the words Lech Lecha, go into yourself and leave the land of your birth, the land of your family, the land that you have known, and go to a new land. I will make of you a blessing, and people will be blessed by you. Well, it's impossible tonight not to think of young Jack in Germany and going to Shanghai as a young person, leaving again to go to the land of Israel, the state of Israel, and then leaving again to come and make a new life for himself in the United States of America. As an individual and as a couple with Candee, Jack and Candee create blessings, are blessings, and so many people, thousands upon thousands of people, and ever more multitudes of people with this gift to Shaare Zedek Hospital will be blessed by the two of you. And I imagine what Abraham might have thought when he was asked to go forth, and what Jack might have thought when he first went forth. Is it possible for anybody to imagine the depth of blessings that one can create and the fabric of those blessings? But Jack and Candee, with your generosity of spirit, with your intellectual curiosity, and your indomitable spirit, the two of you have created so many blessings. And on behalf of all of us here, I thank you for that. And may all of us, as you and Candee have followed in the example of Abraham and Sarah, may all of us be blessings. And by the way that we go into ourselves, may we become the finest version of ourselves that we can be, and walk in the light of God. Amen.
Amen.
a century, Shaare Zedek Medical Center has been known as the hospital with a heart. Every day, thousands of patients walk through our doors, seeking the highest levels of medical care in a compassionate and nurturing environment. But let me show you some of the statistics we are most proud of.
Zedek is the only major medical center built, located in the center of the city. This facility is active 24 hours a day. They are always on call and save lives in the city of Jerusalem.
Inside Jerusalem, there are 3 hospitals, but Shaare Zedek has almost a steady increase in the number of patients of about 7 to 8% per year, which is a very large increase on a steady basis for at least the last 10 years.
We have fantastic consultants in every specialty, and I think people feel the warmth of the staff, the honest, sincere caring that the staff has. And I think that's why they choose us over the other medical institutions in the city, is because they feel that we honestly care. That's why they call us the hospital with the heart.
As Jerusalem's most centrally located hospital, Shaare Zedek needs to be ready at every moment for any eventuality. In fact, during the Intifada, Shaare Zedek received more than 40% of those injured in terrorist attacks. This experience was the impetus for the hospital establishing serious protocols for dealing with such events and for creating our fully functioning Matloff underground hospital. Each year, the hospital coordinates emergency drills together with the IDF to test their skills at identifying how to deal with mass casualty events.
Despite all the differences that we have between us outside, when we come to work in the morning and as we come through the doors of Shaare Zedek, all of these differences seem to disappear.
Caring for patients with cancer is much more than just giving chemotherapy. The chemotherapy is the easy part. The difficult and challenging part is the communication with people, for them to understand what's wrong with them, to understand that there are things which we can do to help them, but helping them is not just a question of shrinking down their tumour, it's understanding the whole person and the dynamic of their family. And we insist we must speak with people in their own language.
In Shaare Zedek Hospital, coexistence is not a dream, it's a normal reality.
As many of you know, our expertise extends beyond the walls of the hospital as well. Led by Deputy Director General Dr. Ofer Marin, Shaare Zedek representatives led the IDF Field Hospital in Haiti, Japan, and the Philippines, bringing healing to thousands in desperate need of medical aid. CBS referred to the Israel Field Hospital as the Rolls-Royce of emergency medicine. We are so proud of Shaare Zedek's involvement in saving lives around the world.
I do believe that care of children is not only medical attention, but also love. We are very lucky as pediatricians. Simply the smile that we can get between his tears, that contact makes our day. A little smile of a child, I don't know, this is a light in my life.
From the most advanced procedures in laparoscopic surgery to the latest technology in robotics, from the treating of victims of terror and IDF soldiers to expectant mothers requiring advanced prenatal care, we provide a full range of services at the highest level to every patient who walks through our doors. Join us as we bring innovative medicine to the heart of Jerusalem.
It is now my pleasure to introduce my good friend, Professor Jonathan Halevy, MD. Jonathan, who has served as the Director General of Shaare Zedek Medical Center in Jerusalem for more than 26 years, is one of the most respected members of the Israeli medical field. And he's largely responsible for growing our 112-year-old hospital into the world-class center of medical excellence that it is today. There are many statistics that are the result of Jonathan's leadership, I can give you two. 20 years ago, Shaare Zedek was a hospital with 400 beds. Today, there are 1,000. The most impressive statistic, however, is that 20 years ago, there were 5,000 births at Shaare Zedek. Last year, there were over 21,000, more than in any other hospital in the free world. And this is thanks to Jonathan that this hospital has become the hospital of choice for giving birth in Jerusalem. To show the respect that Jonathan has in Israel, the government has appointed him for a second time the chairman of Israel's Health Basket Committee, which meets annually to determine which drugs, which medical procedures and technology will be approved and subsidized by the national healthcare system. In addition, Israel's Council of Higher Education appointed Jonathan to chair the committee which decided to approve a new school of medicine at Bar-Ilan University. Jonathan lectures extensively throughout Israel and the world on topics related to medicine, including quality assurance, medical negligence, and risk management in hospitals and clinics. He is also the author of two highly acclaimed books, Bedside Manner, which is a must read for all physicians and lay people, and Complementary and Alternative Medicine, All the Facts. Professor Halevy attended Sackler School of Medicine at Tel Aviv University, and he was also a visiting fellow at Yale University School of Medicine from 1983 to 1985. Please join me in welcoming Professor Jonathan Halevy.
Thank you very much, Francine, for your kind introduction, and good evening, ladies and gentlemen. And I would like to welcome especially Candee and Jack Klein, our friends, and in honor of whom this evening is being held. And it's really a pleasure to talk a few more words in addition to what you saw about Shaare Zedek in general and about the contribution of Jack and Candee to the patients in Jerusalem in particular. So, as Francine said, we are now the largest hospital in the city of Jerusalem with 1,000 beds and 2 campuses. And I can tell you that modern medicine is so costly and diversified that no hospital in the world, including the very prestigious hospitals in this country, from Harvard Medical School and its affiliated hospitals, Massachusetts General Hospital, Brigham and Women, Beth Israel Hospital, to the West Coast with UCLA, Cedars-Sinai, and USC and its affiliated hospitals. No hospital can excel in everything. And hospitals develop centers of excellence, where they put emphasis, where they give priority, where they try to recruit the best people who can make this center a national and many times an international referral center. And hospitals around the world develop centers of excellence according to different criteria. Some of them would put finances in the center. They will develop centers of excellence that will contribute to the positive financial balance of the hospital in order not to lose money. Some hospitals will develop a centers of excellence around the personality. They have an excellent man or woman, a professional, and they will build a center of excellence around him. And there are hospitals, and Shaare Zedek is among them, that develop their centers of excellence according to the needs of the community. It's very difficult for Americans to understand that, but Israelis and Europeans, definitely the British with the national health system that they have, can understand my next few sentences. People in Israel in the early 90s, 20-some years ago, were dying while waiting for a cardiac procedure. By cardiac procedure, I mean an interventional catheterization procedure, angioplasty, balloon stents. These are familiar terms to everybody today, to lay people as well. Or open heart surgery, coronary artery bypass. There was scarcity of cardiac facilities in Israel in the early 90s. This was the beginning of the era of ultra-modern cardiology, with ability of cardiologists really to save lives and to prolong the life of patients with heart diseases by decades. And this is even before the statin era, statins that are considered the medication of the century, of the 21st century, that really have an effect not only on the cholesterol level, but also literally shrink the atherosclerotic plaques that block the coronary arteries and leads to heart attacks. So this was before the time of statins, and people were waiting up to 1.5 years for a cardiac procedure. At that time, under the recommendation of the management of the hospital, the board of Shaare Zedek, and we are run by an international board of directors. We are not affiliated with the government. We are not a government hospital. We do not belong to an HMO. Like Hadassah, we are independent major medical centers that are run by voluntary organizations. And it was the decision of the management of the board at that time, 1992, to open a comprehensive heart center that will change the face of cardiac care in Israel. And we went on an international campaign from 91, 92 to 94, and we built a 70,000 square feet cardiac center on our 10th floor that has everything to do with the healing of the heart, from a prevention center to a large cardiology department of 50 beds, a large coronary care unit, 3 dedicated catheterization laboratories, and on the other side of the floor, the cardiothoracic surgery department with 2 operation theaters dedicated for heart surgery. I bring this example because that's what the people of Israel needed at that time. We cut the waiting time, and today other hospitals joined us, although none of them started such a comprehensive large center, but actually the problem was solved. So much so that today, not only in Jerusalem and Israel, but all over the Western world, coronary artery disease, cardiac death, heart attacks stopped being the #1 enemy of humankind. Today, it's only the second reason for death, and the advance and progress that happened in the area of cardiac disease is enormous. And I believe that we in Jerusalem made some contributions to this effect. In general, I believe that the missions of any hospital in the world are fourfold: to save lives, to alleviate physical and emotional pain, to train the next generation, and we have the first nursing school in Israel, and we have full affiliation with the Hebrew University Medical School, with medical students in every department. And the 4th mission is to do research. And again, developing this cardiac center over 20 years ago contributed in these 4 areas. What is the #1 enemy of human health today? The #1 enemy today is oncological diseases, is cancer, as you all know from the papers. And the advancement and the progress that is being done in fighting cancerous diseases is enormous. And it was Shaare Zedek's decision a few years ago to develop the highest level of oncological services. Now, as the medical people among you know, and many of the lay people as well, cancer is a big basket of many diseases that have only something in common. And this something is uncontrolled proliferation of cells that take control over their vicinity, sometimes send distant metastasis, and kill the patients. And the progress that medical science has made in early detection of cancerous diseases and in fighting them is enormous, and we are in the middle of this war. We are in the middle of this war developing new methodologies of early detection of cancer, new oncological medications. We are in the era of biological agents that have less side effects than regular chemotherapy and many times are more effective. We are in the midst of the era of personalized medicine where we are starting to understand why a certain patient will respond to chemotherapy and another patient with the same cancerous process will not respond to the same chemotherapy. It has a genetic basis, the genes of the patients and the genes of the cancerous growth, and we can analyze both. Why do I tell you this story? Because 50%, all over the Western world, 50% of the cancerous disease is breast cancer. And in breast cancer, major progress has been made. And I would like to say a few words about breast cancer in general and about the early detection and treatment of breast cancer in Shaare Zedek, because that's where Mr. Jack Klein, our honoree today, his late wife Elisa, and Candee, his wife today, may she live long, were and are very active to benefit thousands of women around Israel through early detection and effective treatment of breast cancer that leads today to up to 90% cure. This was not the percentage a few years ago. It's the result of the progress, but in order to be able to accommodate this progress, to practice it in a hospital, and many hospitals in the world are trying to do that, I believe that we at Shaare Zedek, thanks to the major gift of Jack and Candee, in the Jack and Candee Comprehensive Breast Cancer Center, are doing terrific life-saving work. So, what's breast cancer and what's unique about breast cancer? What's unique about breast cancer, and I teach my medical students about this big basket of cancerous diseases, that there are two cancerous processes where early detection means cure. In Hebrew, it rhymes. Some of you speak Hebrew. Gilui mukdam, ripui mushlam. When you detect the cancer early, you can have full control on it and cure it. And breast cancer abides by this definition. But in order to be able to do that, you have to develop an early detection program. And mammography that everybody in this hall heard about, and screening mammography that is recommended in this country to women with no family history, starting at age 40. In Israel, it's age 50. A lot of the medical literature thinks that it's commercially driven in this country to recommend early detection and screening mammography at the age of 40. Of course, anybody who has a family member, definitely next of kin, or even an aunt who had breast cancer under the age of 40, should have even earlier detection. I don't want to go into that. I would only say that the first of the four pillars on which the successful fight against breast cancer lies is the mammography program, but many women, for them, mammography will not suffice. Mammography is a very rough way to detect cancer. About 15% of the women will need to go on to have an ultrasonography of the breasts and to have an MRI of the breasts. So you have to develop a comprehensive diagnostic center for breast cancer and to encourage the public to come and have mammography, because people are panicked from the word cancer. And at least in Israel, it's not so easy to convince every woman who reaches 50 to come and have mammography. and if the mammography is equivocal, to go on to ultrasonography and MRI. And we established at a center where women from all over Israel come to be screened, and if they have breast cancer, God forbid, it's detected very early. The second pillar on which the successful fight against breast cancer lies is genetics. We know, and I know that many of you sit in this audience are Ashkenazi Jews. And who are Ashkenazi Jews? A group of few million people who came to East Europe. Some historians say in the 7th century, most historians say from the 11th or 12th century. And from that time, for hundreds of years, till the Holocaust, they married among themselves. And by marrying among themselves, they internalized some bad genes. And you are all familiar with the BRCA1 and BRCA2. BRCA stands for breast cancer gene 1 and breast cancer gene 2. You need a very strong department of genetics in order to find out who are the families who carry these genes and have much higher rate of breast cancer and at an earlier age than the general population. And as you know, there are two natural laboratories to do research and to treat Ashkenazi Jews. One is the state of Israel, and the other is New York City. That's the highest concentrations of Ashkenazi Jews in the world. But not only Ashkenazi Jews carry this gene. So in order to have a screening program for BRCA1 and BRCA2, you need a strong department of genetics, and we have it at Shaare Zedek. The third pillar on which the fight against breast cancer lies is surgery. It's not complex surgery. You are not talking about open heart surgery or brain surgery, but you need to have dedicated breast surgeons who are up to date in the surgical techniques. Some of you probably heard about the sentinel node, the procedure that was discovered over 20 years ago, where you identify a certain lymph node, and if this lymph node is not affected, you don't have to take out the other lymph nodes. I would not like to go into too many medical details, but we were pioneers in Israel in practicing this aspect of surgery, the sentinel node surgery. So you need dedicated group of surgeons who do only breast surgery, who have terrific rapport with the patients, because you can imagine that when a woman is diagnosed with breast cancer, she is extremely anxious to get rid of it and to be among the 90% that can be cured. And she has to be assured about that. And the surgery is the first procedure after detecting the cancer, so you need to look for surgeons who have perfect bedside manner, who would contact in the evening the patients and will tell them, don't worry, we caught your cancer at an early stage, we are going to operate on you tomorrow and you will do fine. And the fourth pillar on which the fight against breast cancer lies is oncology. Today we have, again, in a personalized manner, all depends what's the genetics of the patients, what's the genetics of the tumor cells. We can personalize and give chemotherapy and radiotherapy that is adjusted to the specific patient. Now, if we go to Jack and Candee Klein, Jack, I'm running Shaare Zedek for 6 years. I think, Jack, we met for the first time 22 or 23 years ago with your late wife, Elisa. And then oncology, the way I just described it to you, was non-existent. And when I presented to you the development that we have at Shaare Zedek against, according to the needs of the community, you chose to support children. We had a very old pediatric emergency room at that time. And your first contribution went to upgrade. Today it's very modern, it's part of our children's hospital, but I'm talking in the early 90s, you gave us, Jack, together with the late Elisa, $300,000 to upgrade our old pediatric emergency room. And then a few years later, we started developing our breast cancer services, and you made a significant contribution towards the Noga Clinic,
The Noga Clinic is a one-stop shop that is intended to relieve the anxiety of a woman with a newly diagnosed breast cancer, where she can have her mammography, and if there is a need, her ultrasound and MRI, surgical consultation, oncological consultation, and genetic consultation at the same day. One-stop shop to relieve anxiety. I came to you with the idea over 10 years ago, and you supported it very generously. And only recently, Jack, I came to you at Candee and told you the story that I just told this audience, your guests tonight, about these 4 pillars on which modern diagnosis and treatment of breast cancer rest, that leads to such high percentage of cure, and you cannot resist giving us additional $4 million, which brings up your total giving to over $5 million to Shaare Zedek, in order to be able to build and operate everything that I just told this distinguished audience about. And you are coming with Candee the next few days, traveling to Israel in order to inaugurate the Jack and Candee Klein Comprehensive Breast Health Center at Shaare Zedek, which is the first of its kind in the state of Israel. So, by this short presentation, which I will not finish before mentioning another dear individual who is with us today, I try to shed light on the importance and on the actual life-saving that is done through your generous gift, Candee and Jack. And you are responsible for saving thousands of lives in Israel through this center, and we at Shaare Zedek are privileged to implement in such a way that I just described, but you will see with your own eyes when you come to Israel next week. So really my gratitude, my hakarat tov to you is enormous in the name of so many thousands of women patients that will have their breast cancers detected early and cured. Actually, in this center, we diagnose every day, on the average, 1.3 cases of cancer on a daily basis, and 90% of them are cured. And again, I take great pride of the fact that the operating budget of Shaare Zedek is balanced without the help of generous donors from around the world. We do good work. Our physicians are attracting many patients. Israel has a national health system, which I know that some of you do not appreciate, because it reminds the Obamacare, the Affordable Care Act, that is being implemented these days in this country, and you are used to a fee-for-service system. But Israel has a history of socialized medicine. And socialized medicine can be a dirty word, dirty expression, but it could be also a very pure and advanced expression. It all depends how you practice it. In Shaare Zedek, we practice it in a humane, personalized way, and we gained the confidence and the trust of the people of Jerusalem, and that's how, despite socialized medicine, our operating budget is well balanced, and that's what my board expects me to do. But for capital projects, to build such a comprehensive breast center, or to build such a comprehensive heart center, which is called the Jefferson Heart Center, to build the Children's Hospital, the Wilf Children's Hospital, and numerous other projects for development, as opposed to the operating balance. For development, we are totally dependent on generosity of friends from around the world. And in every region in this country, in New York and in Florida, in Chicago, in Los Angeles and in San Francisco, and in few other cities in the world, mainly in London and a small operation in France, we have people, we have lay leaders who help us voluntarily to achieve our goal in developing Shaare Zedek. And Mrs. Shaare Zedek in the Bay Area is our beloved Francine Gani. This is the opportunity to thank Francine, really from the bottom of my heart. And recently we conversed in Hebrew to show you her love, not only for Shaare Zedek, but for Israel at large. Francine is highly motivated to learn Hebrew, and we communicate in writing and when we talk to each other in Hebrew. And the Hebrew becomes more and more fluent every day, almost as fluent as my English, and their accent in Hebrew is better than my accent in English, I can tell you that. And she has been a role model in making major gifts. She founded, can I mention it, Francine? She founded the $2.5 million Director General Fund, where she allowed me to use at my discretion to solve problems that rise from time to time in the hospital. Giving us a few years ago $2.5 million. And because she's into the arts too, when you enter the main lobby, the emergency room entrance with the beautiful atrium of Shaare Zedek, you will see a display of lithographs of Salvador Dali that he painted for Ben Gurion when Israel was 20 years old, with themes from the Bible and from Israel. Actually, the theme of this exhibition, as I understand it, is from ashes to an independent state, from the Holocaust to the state of Israel. And that's also Francine Gani's contribution. So it's not only monetary contribution, but also beautifying the hospital, and I thank you very much for that. Last but not least, I would like to mention Paul Jesser, who is the director for the Northwest region and is responsible for many years for major contributions from this area, both Los Angeles and San Francisco, and also for working together with Francine Gani in order to arrange this beautiful, wonderful evening in honor of Jack and Candee Klein. Thank you very, very much for your attention.
Thank you, Jonathan. Not only was your presentation full of wonderful information, it was also inspiring. You and your staff have done a wonderful job, and from all of us here, our sincerest appreciation for all you have done and will continue to do for the people of Israel. Jack and Candee, please join us up here. Your good deeds, both locally and in Israel, are well known, especially those that Jonathan described. Your new gift, the naming of Shaare Zedek's new Jack and Candee Klein Comprehensive Breast Health Complex, is one of the most generous gifts ever received by Shaare Zedek. We are so proud of you, and we are so thankful for your generosity. So, on behalf of the State of Israel, the citizens of Jerusalem, and the Shaare Zedek Medical Center family, we are honored to present to you this beautiful piece of art designed by Mordechai Rosenstein. It portrays the famous Hillel statement, "If I am not for myself, who is for me? And if I'm only for myself, what am I? And if not now, when?" Jack and Candee, please accept this small token of our appreciation for all you have done and will continue to do for the Jewish people.
make a short response. Most of it has been already said. So, dear friends and invitees, thank you for joining Candee and myself on this occasion of honoring us to do as Tikkun Olam dictates for honorable Jews to engage in, enlightening the world. Thanks for joining us on a day of our giant baseball team is about to win the pennant without you being glued to the television. We have so many thanks for, and I particularly, my parents to thank for being instrumental in finding the last route out of Berlin, Germany, to save the family from the worst pogroms of the Jewish people's history. We fled Berlin, in particular the last boat to China, and lived there under a cruel Japanese sergeant by the name of Goya, who incarcerated us to a ghetto with limited economical opportunities, and my father Lemmel, also known as Leo to us, worked hard to stay independent as the world began in front of our eyes overnight. Post that period and after World War II, we had an opportunity to travel to Israel, which just got its independence in 1948. We arrived there a year later in 49 and again had to struggle for the umptieth time, and the adjustment was very difficult, especially for my father. Eventually, the state of Israel pulled itself up, and I got my education in a great technical school named Shevach, that now established itself with highest standard studies levels in Israel. Eventually, I mustered into the Israeli Defense Forces and even participated in the Suez Canal War in '56 as technical soldier in the Chal Chimush, assisting motor vehicles when they had mechanical problems. Elisa Maya, who I met in '64 and became my wife in '67, was my closest friend and hardest working companion in helping me develop my business from the start, and we were married for 43 years before she succumbed to breast cancer after fighting this disease for 13 years. She was my driving force in my life, and I owe more than I can ever thank her or say. After building my first home in Hillsborough in '76 and joining the PTS synagogue on the same year, I was terribly busy managing my 200 residential units when we hired a property management group that my Elisa controlled. It became so cumbersome with the rent control that I was lucky enough to exchange all my residential properties into a dozen of triple net pharmacies and made life a lot easier. During that period, in the middle of the '70s, I started giving properties to my foundation at the Jewish Community Center Federation, and we established a giving back to my Jewish community for their help and considerations. Thank you. Israel was never out of my mind, out of our minds. And even after and during Israeli wars, Elisa and I traveled there and invested both in real estate and a hospital with a heart, now the Shaare Zedek Medical Center in Jerusalem. Our giving to Shaare Zedek grew as a result of us being elected to head the hospital's friends in our Northern California district for 2 years. This opportunity grew on our giving and Elisa's cancer took a hold. We decided to, as Elisa's cancer took a hold, we decided to give it its philanthropy even more, philanthropy even more. Shaare Zedek grew to a medical center under Professor Halevy's term to the biggest and best hospital in Jerusalem, and now Israel. Candee and I take pride to be part of this establishment. Now handles over 21,000 births a year and became a teaching hospital during our supporting years. Thank you, Professor Halevy, for joining us at this time, all the way from Jerusalem, to be present and bestowing this privilege and opportunity on both of us, Candee and I. We are overwhelmed with having done this, and thank you for this opportunity for doing so. Bless you, Professor Halevy, and thanks again.
Thank you, Jack and Candee. Now it is my privilege to introduce Jake Ehrenreich.
Don't introduce me yet. Taking the mic. Das machst du.
When Jake was growing up in the New York City section of Brownsville in the 60s, he wanted nothing more than to be an American. But his Yiddish-speaking parents, who failed to understand the game of baseball, I can relate to that, or make sense of rock music, made it difficult for him to feel part of the mainstream culture. In his Broadway hit show, A Jew Grows in Brooklyn, Jake explores how his family history, dominated by the shadow of the Holocaust, shaped the man he turned out to be. Jake has appeared on Broadway in Dancing, Barnum, and They Are Playing Our Song. He has also performed Yiddish music in 2 off-Broadway productions, Songs of Paradise and The Golden Land. For Jake, his show is ultimately a celebration. He quotes Billy Crystal, who quipped that performing a show about his life was like a visit with my family every night. A smash hit in the heart of Broadway, where he played for more than a year and a half. A Jew Grows in Brooklyn is an engaging, poignant, and hilarious comedy musical about the search of identity and meaning. From the streets of Brooklyn and struggle with his family's past, to the laughter and rebirth of the Catskill summers, to his mother and sister's heartbreaking early Alzheimer's disease, this tour de force performance is a delightful journey that speaks to anyone hoping to live out the American dream. The New York Times raved about A Jew Grows in Brooklyn, calling it funny, touching, and beautiful. You don't have to be Jewish or Brooklynish. Jake is dazzling. Ladies and gentlemen, performing excerpt from his A Jew Grows in Brooklyn, please welcome Mr. Jake Ehrenreich.
I can't wait to see this guy.
Ladies and gentlemen, the show is about to begin. There is no smoking on the premises. Please note the location of the exit nearest you. Management will continue to strictly enforce the rules prohibiting the throwing of fruit and vegetables at the performer. Indiscriminate flash photography is encouraged, as well as the opening of candy wrappers during quiet moments. In addition, please leave your cell phones on and feel free to call each other during the show. For this performance, the part usually played by Jake Ehrenreich will be performed by Carol Channing.
We're coming. And when I close my eyes, I can recall my mother reaching out to me. From out front porch, she goes to me. Then I see a boy come racing home and fly into his daddy's arms. His whiskers on my face so warm. What happens to the laughter and the joy? The schoolyard and the factory, the guy who ran the grocery. It doesn't seem to be that long ago. And I recall the days that I would gaze upon my Brooklyn roads. It doesn't seem to be so long ago. I can still recall those days that I would gaze upon my Brooklyn roads. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Jake Ehrenreich, and I'm the creator of a show called The Jew Grows in Brooklyn. And that little excerpt is from a song that I wrote for the show called My Brooklyn Roads. And I will tell you that the show performed last night at the Schubert Theater in New Haven, Connecticut, which is celebrating its 100th birthday. 1,600 seat, beautiful, renovated theater. We went to sleep at 2:30 in the morning, and we left at 4. Because my friend Paul Jester told me about the incredible generosity of Jack and Candee, and said, could you please come? And there was no way that my beautiful wife, who's back there, and I were not going to come. So if I fall asleep, you'll know. Mazel tov. So by the way, Jack is, I'm going to guess. We'll get to it. So welcome. Welcome to A Jew Grows in Brooklyn. What a name for a show. I'm not even Jewish. So let us start our journey in a galaxy far, far away. Brooklyn, New York. What? No. So, Brooklyn, New York, 1965, I'm 9 years old. My dad and I, we were watching our first baseball game together on TV. So when I was growing up, baseball was very important to me. I needed American credentials to offset the fact that my parents were immigrants. Baseball is as American as apple pie, which is exactly what I wanted to be. My father knew nothing about the game of baseball. This was not a popular game in Poland before World War II, where he grew up. But we were watching the game together, and I knew he was watching it for me, which made it so great. About the 5th or 6th inning, my father turns to me. He says, "No, Yankele, what kind of game is this baseball? 2 people play and 8 people watch." This is what I'm dealing with growing up. I'm telling you, aside from my parents, I was the all-American regular inner city kid. I had my little red rubber ball, a Pensy Pinky or a Spalding, you remember it? With that little ball, we created a whole world for ourselves. Played punch ball and stoop ball and stick ball. We played on our block. We played in the schoolyard, and we played at the park. Yeah, a park is like a park, but in Brooklyn. There are other differences too. Like if you have a park here in Mountain View or San Francisco or anywhere really, there's grass. No, a Brooklyn park is concrete, chain link fence, and steel monkey bars. This is like a litigator's dream, this place. It was not fancy. It was a very important place to us. You know, we learned some of our earliest life lessons there. Are you kidding? From the older men, we learned style and grace. Is this familiar to some of you? Is it possible, even here on the West Coast, some of you out there might actually be from my hometown of Brooklyn, New York? I got Brooklynites? You're kidding. So many? Where are you from? Like what neighborhood? Flatbush is my neighborhood. Where else? Brownsville. This is also my neighborhood in the beginning.
East New York.
East, I can't believe it. Where, Linden Boulevard? East New York, I can't believe it. Where are you from, Spirit? You too? Wow. That's who said the Bronx?
I'm the Bronx.
I thought so. Staten Island. No, Staten Island is cool. The Bronx is cool. But I got to be honest. Whenever I do anything, anywhere, I really love when people from Brooklyn are in the audience because I know it means that there are fewer of you out there to be robbing my house. Now, come on. Everybody loves their hometown, right? I love Brooklyn. It makes sense. You love Staten Island? No, well, everybody loves their hometown except if you're from Staten Island. Do you love the Bronx?
Of course.
Of course. I'm from the East Flatbush section of Brooklyn. Rough neighborhood. I mean, my neighborhood was so tough, mother was half the word. I went to PS 233, Mar 11 Junior High School, and Samuel J. Tilden High School. It's a miracle I could read. But what I'm trying to tell you, growing up, I was the all-American regular kid. I really was, except for my parents and my name. My name growing up was Yankee. Is your name Yankee? Yankele. Yankee, Yankee, Yankee. We'd be playing on our block. We'd all get called in for dinner. Be like, Gary, Mark, Steven, Yankee. In that moment, I morphed from being the regular all-American kid into being super immigrant Jew kid with Holocaust survivor parents. Look, of course I knew we were different. I mean, you can't grow up with no aunts and uncles and no cousins and no grandparents and not know you're different. But I didn't want to be different at that age. No kid wants to be different. Certainly I didn't. My best friend, Gary Rosen, his mother actually made it worse. She insisted on calling me Yankee. Not Yankee like the New York Yankees. Yankee, as in Yankel or Yankele. Yankele was my name in Yiddish. It's a beautiful name. Me and you, Yankele. I was so embarrassed by it as a child. You grow older and wiser. I have come to see that Yiddish is an extraordinary language, a very beautiful language. So I'm going to tell you something that you know. Yankele is the loving diminutive form of the name Yankel, which is my name, Jacob, in Yiddish, which is your name. You could do that to any word in Yiddish. You make it loving and beautiful by adding a single syllable at the end. Yankel becomes Yankele. Tate becomes Tatele. Booby. You know about this already? Actually, the first language I ever heard was Yiddish. My mother sang 3 lullabies to me when I was a child. One in Polish, one in Russian, and one in Yiddish. So Poland was the land of her birth and her childhood, like my father. Russia was the country that they both fled to for survival. And Yiddish was simply the language of all Eastern European Jewry. This song is entitled Yankele, our name. It's written by the great Motche Gebertig. It speaks of a mother. She's singing to her infant son in his cradle, just as mine did to me. She's already envisioning his future life. Maestro. Shlov shmir shon Yankele mein Schäne. De Eugelech ist schwarzig im Achzu. Eingele, wo sot schon alles Engelech. Mes nach dem Amazin Eilulu. Eingele, wo sot schon alles Engelech. Mes nach dem Amazin Eilulu. Eingele, was foxt an Tal mit Chochon. Man agenit der Seuchreich zugleich. Eingele, a kluger Chusenbuche, soll ich sein nass wie in ein Teich. Eingele, a kluger Chusenbuche, soll ich sein nass wie in ein Teich. Sleep now, my precious son. Close your pretty eyes. You're old enough to have all of your teeth, and still you need your mother to sing you to sleep. A budding scholar you are, and soon a bridegroom. But you still keep your parents awake at night. Sleep Yankele. For a while, you're still here with us. It'll cost much hard work and tears before we make amends of you. Schluss mir mein Kruger Chosbuche, der weichst und Wiener bei mir. Es wird kosten noch viel mehr und Mannes Tränen. Es wird ein Mensch alles von dir. Es wird kosten noch viel mehr und Mannes Tränen. Es wird ein Mensch alles von dir. What a beautiful song. Okay, so my parents actually arrived in this country in 1949 with my two sisters in tow. My sister Yocheved, also known as Joni, and my sister Golden, also known as Wanda. You know, we had a lot of funny things in our family, but we had a lot of sadness. I would come home from school. My mom would be sitting at the kitchen table, her eyes red from crying. She would want to talk about her family. Yankele, Kim Schein, Zasachanede, Mamared, Yankee, come already, sit down, let's talk. I was a kid. Mostly I just wanted to go out and play with my friends. Sometimes she just wanted to play cards, just not to be alone with her memories. I wish I had sat longer. I sat long enough to learn some things. You know, our family was a little different than yours. So I learned briefly, for now, briefly, I'll tell you. Come see the whole show, I'll tell you all of it. I learned that my parents, my mother was 16, my father was 19, when they were forced to flee Poland. My parents had 8 brothers and sisters before the war and none after. They spent the war in work camps in Siberia, deep inside Russia. This is actually where my sister Wanda was born. She underwent a brain operation at 6 days old with no anesthetic. But of course, we were the lucky ones. We survived. I learned of other members of my family whose fate was not as lucky as ours. I particularly remember the story of my Uncle Joseph, who I never met, of course. This is my mother's younger brother. She used to say to me, "He was tall, like you." He perished when the ship he was on, which was already bound for here in the United States, was mistakenly bombed by Allied forces at the very end of the war. And I'll tell you, my mother, God bless her, I loved her so. I knew even as a child, she wasn't right. My mother never got over the loss of her brother that way, as she never got over the loss of her entire family. And I learned so much from just watching my mother, that different people in life deal with the circumstances of their lives very differently. Because my father was another story. My father never spoke at all. But there was something about my mother that was also different from my father. By the way, I should tell you, I don't want to mislead you. My father later in life became a great Shoah scholar, prolific writer, a wonderful lecturer. He changed his ways as he got older. But one thing my mother did that my father didn't quite do in the same way, she had the most wonderful laugh you've ever heard. If you could get her to laugh, it just came out like her soul laughed. She just needed the release. And I'll tell you a little something. We all needed the release. And we had a secret. We had a special place. My family and families like us, we had a special place where we learned to laugh, where we went together to heal each other and be healed. In the summertime, thousands and thousands of Jews, but especially us, large groups of Holocaust survivors would get together and we would go 100 miles up to the Catskill Mountains, to the Borscht Belt. Anybody know anything about the Borscht Belt? You guys know about the Catskills? And you actually went to the Catskills? It's a long drive from Mountain View. Did you go to the hotels?
Yeah, I worked in a hotel.
What hotel?
A lot of the slot houses.
Don't say that. Megan, do you remember? You went to Grossiers? The Neville in Ellenville, of course. Yes? That's right. Oh, you know all the stuff. This is look, for those of you who don't know, the Catskill Mountains, this was a resort area about 100 miles outside of New York City. Right, come July 4th weekend, it would be like a mass migration on the Serengeti plains of Africa. But no animals, just Jews. Thousands and thousands of Jews would load up their cars and head up to the Catskills. It was like Moses leading the Jews out of Egypt, you know, except by car, with a stop at a place called the Red Apple Rest, which
said, eat here and get gas.
Eat here and get gas. That's right, I can't believe it. Which is pretty funny. My first recollection of going up to the Catskills, we went to a bungalow kind. Anybody ever go to a bungalow kind? Went to a bungalow kind called the White House Bungalow kind. So what'd you have in a bungalow kind? We had a ping pong table, we had a handball court, we actually had a little swimming pool, which I remember fondly because I was the first in my family to ever learn to swim. But the water was very confusing to me. I would eat like a half a yodel. My mother wouldn't let me go in the water for 2 hours. But what is that? She says, you'll get a cramp, you'll drown, you'll die. It's not true, it's a baba-maisa. It's a great, even if it was true, the whole Fakak pool was like 6 inches deep. What could happen to me? I got a little older. I got my first gig in the Catskill Mountains as a musician. I worked at a tiny hotel in Parksville, New York, called the Ridge Mountain Hotel. I was so young. Half the summer I worked at this hotel as a musician. Half the summer I went to sleepaway camp. It's true, there was so many hotels in the Catskills in those days. They really needed as many musicians as they could get. And it was great. We learned. We were kids. You learned so much. I'll tell you something, the Catskill Mountains, if you don't know, this was the finest training ground that there ever was for singers and comedians and young musicians like us. You learn. It was the kind of place you get a job, you make a mistake, you keep your job. You make another mistake, all right, you keep your job. You make another mistake, all right, you keep your job. There's no place like this today. Maybe the Oval Office. But the truth is, you know, I hate that. That's true. The Catskills in its heyday, it really was home to some of the finest entertainers in the entire world. No kidding. Even in my day, of the 1970s, we still had like Jerry Lewis going up to Browns, you know. But what I loved most of all, every hotel had a different floor show each night. It was fabulous. You would have a full evening of entertainment. You'd begin your evening by making your way down to the dining room for dinner. Because look, entertainment was important. Food was everything. Food. Food in the morning, food in the afternoon, food in my pocket, food in my underwear, food. I mean, people are eating like they're going to jail the next day. And the dining room was like another world. Another world. You know what very few people know? Did you know that they had gambling in the dining room in the Catskills? Very few people know that. I overheard a guy. He says, I'll take a chance on a brisket. You'd arrive in the dining room, there, imprinted on your menu, would be the talent for that evening's performance. Tonight, in the Starlight Room, the singing sensation Vicky Stewart and the comedy of Lou Manchel. Now you'd eat and eat and eat and eat, and finally you'd make your way over to the nightclub. This was like the original March of the Penguins. Make out to the nightclub. And the nightclub was so far away, by the time you got there, you were hungry again. But you got there, and when you arrived, the band would be playing sumptuous music for your dancing pleasure. You'd get right up on stage before the show and have a few dances. A cha-cha, merengue, a rumba. It was great. And then, while you're listening to this music, you're dancing. Who shows up? The tumula guy. There he is. The guy who played Simon Says. You know what a tumula is? Yeah, a tumula does everything. A tumula plays Simon Says at the pool. You know Simon Says? You do? You know how to play Simon Says? All right, that's it. Let's go. Who else? Everybody know how to play Simon Says? Let me show you what the Catskills was like. You ready? You know how to play Simon Says, right? All right, let's begin. Here we go. Hands in the air. I thought you said you knew how to play. It's not fair. We'll give you another chance. I mean, when's the last time you played Simon Says? I know. He put his, all of them put their hands up. It's not fair. When's the last time you played Simon Says? 2 weeks? 3 weeks? Right, that's right. All right, let's start again. Remember what Simon says. Simon says, put your hands on your lap. Get out there. That's it. No, if you did this, you're out. No more chances in this group. We'll be here till Tisha B'Av. All right, how many people are really still in the game? Raise your hand. Not anymore. All right, give yourselves a nice round of applause. This is the worst Simon Says group I ever saw. All right, what was I talking about before that? Oh, I remember. So you're in the nightclub and you're dancing, and here he is, the tumler. That's what the tumler did, like in the afternoon at the pool, and then at night, he shows up, he's gonna sing with the band. This is, these guys, they got discovered. You know who were tumblers? So Woody Allen was a tumblr, Sid Caesar was a tumblr. I mean, these guys started as tumblers, and they got discovered. And some of them were singers. So now, he's gonna sing with the band. He's doing his best Tony Bennett, Frank Sinatra, Julius LaRosa impression. Maestro! Fly me to the moon, and let me sway among the stars. Let me know what spring is like on Jupiter and Mars. In other words, hold my hand. In other words, darling, kiss me. Fill my heart with song and let me sing forevermore. You are all I long for, all I worship and adore. In other words, please be true. Look, I especially love the small places, because in the small places, this one tumula guy, he was in the entire entertainment staff. One guy did everything, right? Now the same guy just sang with the band, he played Simon Says in the afternoon. Now he becomes the MC for the show. And they say, go out, open the show, say a couple of things, make everybody feel comfortable. Fine. He loved to entertain, he was coming, but he didn't want you to recognize it was him. A genius, he changed his jacket. Go! Welcome, my friends. Welcome to the fabulous Starlight Room. You having a nice time? Are you kidding? What about this hotel, huh? I have worked at every hotel in the Catskill Mountains. This is my favorite hotel right now. No, the towels are so fluffy. The towels at this hotel are so fluffy. The towels at this hotel are so fluffy. They're so fluffy, this guy could barely fit them in his suitcase. Come on. Where are you going to go to get entertainment like this? Are you getting 2 hours out of New York City? What, are you going to drive to Puerto Rico? Forget it. You come here to the Catskills, it's gorgeous. The entertainment is terrific. The food is delicious. What? My doctor told me to keep an eye on my stool. We got a great show to you tonight, folks. You just got to get through me first. Hello, my friend. How are you? Wow, I like that. I like that. You seem like a nice man. Could I ask you a question? Sure. Do you know the difference between a shower curtain and toilet paper? No? Marty! I think we found the guy. A nice man. No, he's a nice man. You don't talk much. You must be a married man. How long you married? 3 years. Let me tell you something. I'm astounded. I have been in show business a long time. I have never seen ventriloquism like this in my entire life. I asked the man how long he's married. I swear you didn't even see his lips moving. He threw his voice into this lady's body. That's unbelievable. Charlie McCarthy has nothing on you, my friend. That was fabulous. Yeah? You know, let me tell you something.
3 years.
What man in his right mind wants to answer the question, how long you married? Forget about it. At least, you know, you didn't do the deaf thing. Because I like that. I hate when guys do the deaf thing. You ask them how long they're married, they pretend they're deaf. Huh? What? Speaking of being deaf, did you hear about the guy got stopped by a state trooper? He says, what was I speeding? He says, no, sir, I stopped you because 10 miles ago your wife fell out of the car. He says, thank God, I thought I was going deaf. 3 years. I'm married 18 years. Thank you. Seems like 18 minutes. Underwater. No. Come on, I love my wife. Could you imagine we're married 18 years, we still have sex almost every day? Almost on Monday, almost on Tuesday. I was afraid to get married. I was always afraid to get married. Can I tell you, I heard that marriage was like a hurricane. In the beginning, there's a lot of blowing and sucking noises. At the end, you lose your house. Who needs it? This is a nice group tonight. I like it. The only thing that's bothering me, see, I can see all these nice people here. I can't really see you in the back. Are you nice in the back? Because with the lights in my eyes, are you nice people? Of course. I can't see you. You know what? Could we turn the house lights up for a minute, please? Let me just see these people. I'll tumble with them a little bit too. Just turn the house lights up for a minute. Okay, that's good. That's perfect. Who does the house lights in here? Ray Charles? Gotta start the show anyway. Oh, we have a special birthday. Michael Bablinski, a nice man, 85 years old. Never a widower. The hotel ruined his whole birthday. The guy's 85 years old. They sent a hooker up to his room for his birthday. He says, who are you? She says, I'm here to give you super sex. He says, oh, okay, I'll take the soup. I gotta stop the show. I'm gonna lose another job, I can see it already. You know, let me tell you something, we got a great show for you tonight. I look at this stage, I think of the shows we had here over the years, the greatest shows. You remember Sammy Davis Jr.? He was the greatest. We had him right here on this stage at this hotel. Do you know that he became a Jew? He became a Jew. Not kidding. They sent him to Israel to become an honorary citizen. They introduced him to Moshe Dayan. It was a disaster because they didn't see eye to eye. Wait, I think they're going to attack. Hit it, Ringo! Folks, stick around. We got a great show for you tonight. Don't forget, tonight's the late show in the lounge. It's the one and only Lenny Schultz. He's very funny, so stay up late and have a good time. Sing, 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 sing. Everybody start to sing. Hi, hi, oh. Now you're singing with the swing. Swing, 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 swing. Wait a minute. Hi, hi, with the Sing, Sing, Sing?
Yeah.
Gene Krupa, right? You know who wrote that song? No, you know who wrote that song? Let me give you a hint. He was a big star in Las Vegas. He used to play in the lounge in Las Vegas. Louis Prima. Louis Prima wrote Sing, Sing, Sing. So who are these Tumala guys anyway, right? They did this, they did that, they did the other thing. I'll tell you who they were. They were actually part of a larger group of entertainers who were like the glue of the Catskill Mountains. And who would the glue of the Catskill Mountains be? Comedians. These comedians who essentially made Jewish comedy synonymous with American comedy. These early entertainers, so important, but to us, they were really important because these were the people who taught us to laugh again. At least they helped us learn to laugh again. I would listen to my father cry through the locked bathroom door in Brooklyn. And in the Catskills, I would watch him laugh to these comedians in the nightclub. That's what it meant to us. And what did we laugh at? We laughed at jokes. We laughed at slightly suggestive, simple jokes with punchlines.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, the Starlight Room is proud to present the comic stylings of Joey Shepard.
How you doing? How you doing? Very happy to be here tonight. Very happy to be here tonight. Look at this crowd. Look at this guy. How you doing? What are you wearing? What is that? Crushed velvet? Put plastic slip covers on this shirt. What's your name, sir? Who? What kind of name is that? This is a Jewish name? I got a great knock-knock joke for you. Say knock-knock. Who's that?
You.
Who's this guy in show business? What's your name?
Robert.
Robert?
Yes.
It's a nice name. Do you pronounce it like that, Robert?
Only for my wife.
Robert, that's very nice. Where are you from?
New Jersey.
I'm sorry?
New Jersey.
No, I heard you. I'm just sorry.
Outside of Brooklyn.
This is your wife? You couldn't find a nicer hotel to take her to? This fakakta hotel? Let me tell you something. You should get... I was down in the lobby earlier. I saw a guy checking out. The desk clerk says $400. Guy says, $400? I thought the room was $200. He said, yes, the room is $200. And it's $100 for the golf course. He says, golf? He said, I didn't play golf. He said, sir, it's there for your use. You didn't choose, you still got to pay for it. And it's $100 for the health club. He says, health club? Do I look healthy to you? Who used the health club? He said, sir, once again, it's there for your use. If you didn't choose it, you still got to pay for it. Guy writes him a check, $200. The desk clerk says, sir, it's $400. He says, I know. I'm charging you $200 for sleeping with my wife. He says, sir, I did not sleep with your wife. She was there. That's the guy I will tell you, take this fucking beautiful woman to. Are you kidding? Oh, I was in Monticello the other day. So I walked into the butcher shop. I saw a lady, she walks up to the butcher. She says, Mr. Butcher, give me a Brooklyn chicken. I know. So he brings out a chicken. She takes the chicken, she puts her finger up the backside of the chicken. She says, no, this is a Bronx chicken. I want a Brooklyn chicken. So he brings out another chicken. Again, she takes the chicken, she puts her finger up the backside of the chicken. She says, no, what's happening here? This is a San Francisco chicken. I want a Brooklyn chicken, a chicken from Brooklyn chicken. It's all right, lady, take it easy. Schleps her out another chicken. Again, the chicken, the finger. She says, oh, very good. This is a Brooklyn chicken. Yeah, better. While the guy is wrapping up the chicken, she notices he's new in the area. She says, listen, mister, you're new around here. Where you from? He says, here, lady. You tell me. So, listen, I met a nice senior couple. They told me a whole story, a whole monster about how they were driving up here to the Catskills. They got stopped by a state trooper. The wife was driving. She's a little hard of hearing. Trooper says, license and registration. She says, what? The husband says, the trooper would like to see your license and registration. Do you know how fast you were going? What? He asked, do you know how fast you were going? Oh, you're from the Bronx? What? He says he can see from your license that we live in the Bronx. You know, I had the worst sexual experience of my life in the Bronx. What? He says he thinks he knows you. Where am I going wrong? Why do I do this for a living? What is this? You hear about the two Jewish guys walking down the street? They saw a big sign on a church, convert to Christianity, get $500. So one says to the other, he says, go in and see what it's all about. Guy goes in, he comes out a few minutes later, his friend says, so did you get the money? He says, you know, all you Jews care about is money. Robert, have you been to the coffee shop? Yeah. You love it. Yankele, did you go to the coffee shop? At this hotel, at this forgotten hotel. It's the worst coffee shop in history. The worst. No way. It's terrible. I'll tell you what happened. I went down there to get a coffee. I was minding my own business. Two guys walked in. One guy orders a hamburger. One guy orders a hot dog. Fine. The guy who orders the hamburger notices that the waitress, she's walking around, she's taking orders, she's got a hamburger under her armpit. Calls her over, he says, sweetheart, come in. What are you doing with this hamburger? She says, oh, I'm defrosting it. The other guy says, cancel my hot dog. Sweetheart, you want to explain this joke to Rabbi? God bless you. Let me tell you something. These jokes, not only did these guys have to tell jokes and play instruments, they had to do it in a different language, right? Because remember, who came to the Catskills in those days? People like my parents, they wanted some Yiddishkeit. They wanted a little Yiddishkeit. And it was like a conspiracy. Everybody decided they would do a Yiddish song. It was really one of two Yiddish songs you had to do. But there was a conspiracy with the one, because the one was like a Yiddish rock and roll song. You know, picture Stairway to Heaven, but in Yiddish. That's what it was like. It started slow, it got more and more intense as it went along. The guy who recorded this song originally, he was like a Yiddish rock and roll star. The women loved him. They would throw their keys in their underwear. He was like the Justin Timberlake of the shtetl. Everybody in the Catskills, they had to do their own version of the great Aaron Lebedev song, Romania. So sein Sa! Romania, 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 Romania. Once upon a time there was a land called Romania, a sweet and a fine land. Romania, 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 Romania. Die harmonica Romania, dit is de eerste Romania. Oh, je geweld Romania, Romania, Not today's reminder, the remainder in my mind. That's your part. Vostos Haskes kemen dat kriegen. Hamamaligele. Apastramele. Very good. Akarnatsele. Ona glazileva. Doch geht von kein Sorgen wissen nicht weiter ich bin spät im Verwechsel mit Kastrovet ai digi digi dum digi 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 dum ai digi digi dum digi digi dum ha digi digi dum digi 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 dum ai digi digi dum digi dum ai sesama khaya besser kennt sein ai afar gering is so mit hai ai 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 oi 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 hai you tiro mine trinken wein und essen mal liege wer es gesehen gebaut ist Maschine kann ich nicht los kann ich nicht los kann ich nicht los kann ich nicht los alles zusammen heilen es ist keine Zeit I have all the things those to finish boy I'll tell you what sing with me here we go ay 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 all the Jews here we go oh every Jewish song has to have a little pain. Otherwise, it's not really a Jewish song. This was Lebedev's signature move. Oi, hi, 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 hi. Moshe Chaim, Monkey, give us best a highlight in him. Moshe Chaim, Morish, Vila, Kata, Kitzel in the shoes. Can you do that? Can you do that? Simba! Heinz ist aber Chaya, besser kann es sein. Haya Hargeri ist das Rumänisch Boy. Thank you so much. The real thing is, Jack Candee, God bless you. I mean, this is the real deal. You know, it's one thing to talk the talk, it's another thing to walk the walk. So sei mit Mazel und gesinnt. I'm sure you know that. Many years of happiness and health. God bless you, Jonathan, for doing such a wonderful job. Of course, Francine and my dear friend Paul. But really, without people like you, it doesn't get done. So sei mit Mazel. All my love. Thank you, everyone.
What an amazing performance and an inspiring show. I certainly hope that you will bring the whole show to San Francisco in the very near future.
As soon as my voice comes back, I'm going to do it.
Ladies and gentlemen, I sorry do not want to be the person preventing you from enjoying some fabulous desserts that Wendy has prepared for you tonight. So my closing remarks will be brief. We want to thank the Computer History Museum and its staff for hosting us tonight. I hope that you return here and take advantage of this outstanding museum. And special thanks to Albert Pruda, our audiovisual person, for all of his efforts. Thank you to Rabbi Feder and Cantor Reich, and to Sandy Silverstein, the Executive Director of Peninsula Temple Shalom, for your participation, support, and friendship. And I would like to also thank Professor Jonathan Halevy for traveling all the way from Israel just to be with us here tonight. and for his remarks and his special and outstanding leadership of Shaare Zedek. I want to thank my partner. I want to thank my partner in crime, Paul Jesser, the director for our Western region. He is really the main force behind this event tonight. To all of you, please accept our thanks and appreciation for your support and friendship. And most of all, thank you to two very, very special and unique people, Jack and Candee Klein, for their generosity, their friendship, and for being Jack and Candee. In the kits that were on your seats, there is a copy of our newest Heartbeat magazine. In that publication, you will find a contribution envelope. Please take the opportunity to support Shaare Zedek in honor of Jack and Candee. We hope that you enjoyed our program this evening, and we now invite you to join us for dessert. And have a safe return back home.